Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me with the channel DJ here, and today we're exploring another bit of history which is hidden in the Scottish countryside. This area of Angus is rich in history, and we're just near like the Inverquarety area because there's a cool old like stone dam type of bit which must have been built in like the 17 or 1800s, and yeah, I've not been there for years. I think since I got this newer camera and that, I've never been there, so it'll be cool to go and document it again now. And yeah, have a proper look at it once again. The only risk with this adventure though folks, there could be cows or something like that, so we're just being skillful to avoid any of that. What a landscape. Look at this folks. See, an interesting thing with this area, at one time the burn went along the bottom of here, and then it got redirected for the mill at the farm, apparently. At one time in history folks. It's crazy what they did back then. Because I think last time I walked in we followed the route of the old burn, but I can see there's like frost and it's flooded out down there, so yeah, look at it folks. Today we're on the sunny side, getting a bit of heat on a cold winter's day. Look at that, there's two deer jumping over the dyke. Look, that one's a bit more wary. Oh shit. Yeah, oh there's more. Here we go folks. I don't know how well, normally wildlife doesn't like coming out on this camera. It's running away across the field, look. Look, this one's a bit more timid. Let's just wait and let it go over there, because there's barbed wire and it might like hit its head or something on it. We didn't want it to get torn up. Yeah, see that one there though is still up at this end. That's the thing, if you're driving on these roads folks, deer jump out in front of you and stuff, it's crazy. It's just like in Australia, they hate that bother with kangaroos and things. Every country's got their own bits and pieces like that. Yeah. Crazy though folks, look at this ancient landscape. Apparently one of these fields up around this corner used to be a Roman fort, like a Roman town, and that's where the Roman road which comes through Kirriemuir, it actually went through Cadham Wood. It ended up coming to this town, and it's insane because the Romans didn't come too far north like up Scotland, but here they are in Angus at this site in that field. So it's cool sharing even a bit of history like that about this place, because yeah, you didn't get taught about stuff like that when you're at the schools locally here. We were told about a Roman road, but never told there was a Roman settlement just a couple of miles out of the town. Wow, you can see the snow on the faraway hills there. Crazy, early monument standing up on the hill. All the trees around it wiped out by the recent storms. Anyway folks, we're away, just head on round where these trees are, and I'll update you once we get a bit closer to the ancient wonder, or if any cows start chasing us, for sure I'll be switching the camera on as I run. So apparently when Inverquarety Castle and that was a ruin, in like the 1970s and that, 60s and 70s, a lot of the people from the local town of Kirriemuir and that used to come down here and walk out this way, and they would go and have picnics and stuff at the castle ruins. But now the castle's been obviously done up and people live in it, but it is an ancient castle which is doing that way. And that's a cool story of the history, because you do see on the trees a lot of people have scored in names and years from that sort of time when they'd be walking out here with their picnic baskets. Yeah, it is cool folks, imagining the different eras. Maybe originally when the castle was built, this would have been one of the main roads into it, and they would have been arriving on horseback. You can imagine on the foggy, miserable nights, arriving on horseback from Edinburgh or something, important duties. Because I think this castle dates back 1500s. It's an original like defensive castle of its era. It'll have witnessed proper like battles and stuff like that. Real historical times folks. And a lot of these beech trees will be hundreds of years old, because they're massive. So this field here, folks, on the right, this is the field in particular which used to be the Roman fort. It was like a Roman settlement which was here. And I think once the Roman road came from Kirriemuir, this was as far as it came. This would have been a bustling hub, probably of the Roman Empire at that time. Well, it wouldn't have been a total massive setup, but Ken, they would have definitely had business up here, and they would have had a settlement here. And what a crazy bit of history that is. And like, wow, I can't believe the size of these beech trees leading their way down here. It looks like a lot of them's done pretty well in the recent storms. Look at that, the stuff scored in there. Crazy, folks. Today the shadow's not... Oh look, 1982, folks. Shout out. Jenny B, Bruce C. 1982, folks. So that shows you. And look, this is like something like 63. It's cool seeing the old graffiti, folks, if there's like a year, like 1982. Okay, and that shows people's been coming out here. Yeah, it adds a bit of history. What a landscape once again. The weather's just so good today. It's like no wind, the sun's shining. We couldn't ask for any more on an adventure like this. Yeah, that looks like it says 1973. MK 73, folks. Yeah, most trees here has got graffiti on them, and that's insane. People must have just, different times, been hanging out and just... Maybe even there was a route here they could have cycled around and come back out on the main road at the other side. There's another white mansion house across that way as well. There is some nice houses and stuff around this area. Anyway, folks, we'll update you once we're along at the other end of this like row of trees. Unless I see any crazy graffiti. Most trees though have got stuff, initials and that. It's the old dates and stuff that we want to see the most. Look at this, folks. This is an absolutely incredible scene right here. Look, 1943. It's written on this tree right here. That's the sort of history we love to document. If the wind blows this down, yeah, looks like it says WD potentially. Looks like WD 1943. And then, look, yeah, look, there's been tally marks there. Yeah, wow. Real history, folks. 1943. Like, that's just so interesting to see. So interesting to imagine. Look down on that tree. 1982 or something. Look at that, folks. 1982, I think it says. I don't think it's 1882, surely no. If it is, that would be incredible, but it's often hard to decipher it with the way the bark grows after a lot of years. 71 or something, it says.
I don't know if it's a name.
Oh, aye. Crazy, folks. This landscape's amazing, but it looks like there won't be any cows here, which is good news. Because we need to cut across basically at the end of that field. We can just go along the edge of the field and round by the river, and the ancient wonders at the far end of that field. So it is a cool walk to get to it. But on a day like today, you couldn't ask for better weather, folks, so it always makes the adventure epic. Yeah, see, that's where the old barn used to go, up the middle of the field.
Yeah, but the bit that goes in, what is
Yeah, I think it's just been originally two different fields, and then they've just separated it. So there's a slight remains of the fence. Look at this, folks, the view we're greeted with, looking back up towards Ailey Monument and up Glen Clova, Glendall direction. The scene is just incredible once again. And this is where this kind of path along by the beech trees comes to an end, and you get to the private grounds of Inverquarety Castle. So now we have to stay just along the edge of the field and then cross over near the river, because this little historical wonder that we're going to see is like an abandoned bit of history which is quite cool and quite rare, and there's been a lot of work put into it. It's like almost like a dam which has been used to re-divert the water, but nowadays the water kind of is nowhere near it because so many years has passed since it was in use. The river's meandered its way to the different, like away from the dam. So yeah, it's crazy, folks. Channel DJ's just taking a panoramic shot right here. So yeah, cool scenes once again. Let's get on with this adventure, folks. We had to go down this crazy embankment here, so look at the frost on these leaves. That shows you, folks, it's real conditions. It's still morning. We're on a morning adventure right now. This is the same day for us where we were in that abandoned graveyard and stuff, folks. It's a different day on the video for the viewer, but yeah, it's crazy adventures. I should zip up my pockets here so we don't lose anything on the way down the hill. Yeah, this looks marshy. Yeah, what a scene, folks. This is the environment we're exploring. It's like crazy. I have been here one time before, but it's different because there was cows, and I remember it was so scary because they were all like heading over towards us as we walked in. But like seeing it all over again, it's like a whole new adventure. To the landowner and that, folks, we always come with the greatest of respects. Whenever standing damaged crops and stuff like that, we're just sticking to the edge of the field here. But there's obviously no crops planted here, they've just ploughed it and that, but if there was crops, folks, you have to be respectful when you're on adventures, like not to damage things or whatever. It's cool just to video the history that's hidden within the landscape. Look at this here to our left, folks. This is the River South Esk, and this is the river that we saw in the last video when we were at that abandoned graveyard in the wilderness. And the abandoned graveyard must be downstream, maybe a mile, couple of miles maybe. Whereas we had to come to the different side to see the thing we're going to see in this video. It is crazy, the different areas of history, and they're all nearby. They're all just hidden in the land. The castle residence is obviously like burning leaves and stuff today, folks. The landscape here is just breathtaking, like. Here it is right here. The ancient wonder is on the horizon. And look at this river scene here. It's incredible. The only thing that I can think this has been originally, we can only ponder on what it is, but I reckon it must have been to try and divert the river a certain direction. Whereas now, over time, the river's naturally moved completely away from the construction. Maybe at one time the river was at this side of it, because it's like all a dry stone construction, but it's like a dam which has been built. And it could even be from a certain time or a period in the life of the castle. Maybe this was built for something related with that. There has been extreme erosion on the far shore of the river. And this is crazy, folks, just check it out. It's not a small structure, but also I think a lot of it has been washed away. And maybe stones have been taken from this as well at one time for different constructions in the area. Because at certain times in history, folk would just take stones for like buildings and that they were making. Yeah, it's insane. Pretty much undocumented history of Angus, a thing like this. And just look at it, folks. It's massive. And look at the stone construction. It's a solid dam. And the way it's shaped, who knows, the river may at one time have come at this side of it. Yeah, or maybe, who knows, it could have been at this side. But the fact, all the amount of stones they've used. So let's take a walk down this thing and just take it all in, folks. Look at the way the stones is built together. Laid in there in the 16 or 1700s or whatever. It could even be for an earlier time or a later one. We don't know the full history on this spot. But the stone construction is a big one. It's crazy to think each of these stones has been individually hand laid from that far end up to this one. The moss has probably given it some protection and again, saving the history at this point. Most likely tree roots and stuff would do the most damage to something like this if it was ripping through the way it's built.
Done well, it's obviously kind of no tree seeds have fallen down.
Yeah, it's like a runway. Ken, they've made it so long here. It must be like 200 metres long potentially, like maybe 300 metres long. With this amount of construction, they could have built themselves a dam somewhere. But I think with this one they've been diverting the water or stopping the water eroding a certain way. But I don't see why they'd have it at the inside of the corner. Because there's no way that these have just landed like this, you know what I mean? It's a constructed structure. And look at it, it's just a crazy constructed structure. Leads on up. You can see the different shape, how it's starting to drop and stuff, and that'll be because of the roots pushing and moving the stones, and then the small stones in between just fall out and then the whole structure drops down. Wow. And it just keeps on going into this, like, it's like a forest section almost at this end. Because of the trees, this is a lot more mossy, and it seems that the stone dam is higher here, but it could just literally be that there's a lot more sediment being built up at that side. It was maybe so it just killed the river's flow a bit in storms, because the land here will be like rich agricultural land, and maybe the river now and again would be a problem, washing away some good crop. But yeah, it is interesting. Often you find some historical thing like this, which is an amazing structure, and like, again, you can't actually find any history about it anywhere. It's just a little thing which has been like built and then forgotten as the years have gone over, like past. Because it would have only been an important structure to a few, like a small number of folk. We've been walking down this now for a good couple of minutes, and like it just shows you the length of it. It must be almost 300 metres long, I would say. Now we've gotten to the end of it. Look, there's a little kind of fishing hutty at the other side there. When we were at the other side of the river at the grave site, in the last episode, folks, we were at the other side of there, and like this is the same river, the same area. But here, because the lie of the land changes and the river flows away, this is where the construction just starts. So, who knows? The river's just been flowing over the years any direction. It's hard to say where. I just love seeing the way the stones and stuff are all just built in there. Like, it's like a massive dry stone dike. But it's a serious amount of stones that they must have gotten out of the river. The river would have supplied them with what they needed. They would have just selected the right ends and then built it. Look at this post. It's probably been deposited from like an old farm or whatever. Stuff like that would get washed in the river. I think the water would probably come over here in a storm to this day. So bits like this, folks, you can see it's like it's been washed out by the river. The top stones has all been taken away. It's like a wet bog environment down there at this forest, but there is a lot of stones. I think they're all the way down here, even though there's moss and stuff over the top of them. I think this is where they would start, because you see it better further up on the Ancient Wonder. From down at this side you can see how much it curves round, and the amount of work and the way they've shaped it. It's been to control the water. I'm not sure if they would have had the steepest slope to the water's edge or the shallower slope, because I'm not sure what side the water flowed, but I'm guessing, Ken, you could say, oh, it would be this side, but so many years has passed since this was built, it's not guaranteed that, Ken, the river has always flowed at this side. But I was just thinking the size of that tree root, which is a dead tree, Ken, it looks like that's been always at the opposite side to the water. It's hard, folks, we're just reading the land. It's always cool and an adventure to find something like that. Yeah, it's like so much work went into it. It's almost like a bit of Hadrian's Wall or something. Crazy river environment right here. Something that is amazing at this side, the amount of erosion at the other side of the river. Look at this, folks, crystal clear waters. We've got the winter shadows. At this time of year in Scotland, folks, the sun never gets too high in the sky. It looks like there's actually a central little island bit there. It's crazy to see the way the sediment is up there, with like the pebbles near the top and the earth down below. It shows how the land's formed at one time, Ken. There's been different like situations there causing the pebbles or the earth and that. Here, I could skim a stone out here, eh, look. Skim this big stone, folks. Here it's skimmed pretty well. Aye, that tree there, it's just hanging on the edge, eh. Look at these stones here, just because they've got a flat side, they're pretty big, but they're skimming. That was a goodie. I need to find another in here. Here we go, folks. Anyway, on with this adventure. It's been so cool to see this ancient like dike or dam kind of wall construction out here in this wilderness, built probably from stones around this river's edge. Back in ancient times they just used whatever they had near at hand for their construction. These crystal clear little sideburns here are epic. River South Esk it is out here. And from here you can get a right aspect of how long it is, because it starts away down there and it leads all the way up here. And at one time it's kept on going further, because you can see the end just starts abruptly. It's been washed out. So I'd say it's like 300 metres long of like an incredible dry stone construction. Could have been built any time from, I reckon, from the 16 all the way through. Could have been in the 1800s. Could have even been in the early 1900s, but I doubt that. I think if it had been in the 1900s they would have used more mortar or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on a construction like that, which we don't even know for sure what it was doing. Yeah. The amount of stones they've used here is insane. And obviously, like, Well, I don't think the dry stone techniques they used here will be like lost, Ken. Back in those days, most things they built, even big things, were dry stone. It's insane the width of it for there all the way across here, folks. And it keeps on going all the way down here, which is just an insane amount of little stones, big stones all together. And this tree looks like it's been an old tree, because it looks like it's even been dead for a long time. And then it's crazy here as well, the way the barbed wire is. Even the fence here has just been like washed out. So there we go. I was just getting a couple of photographs there of this incredible structure. It's cool to video stuff like this and ask the question of history, what is it? Maybe local people will know what it was and ken the history about it. Get in the comments. If not, we can share this with the world and show the massive things that they built back in those days. The most obvious thing I think it must be is that they were trying to control the river. Maybe to stop it eroding their good farmland at this other side. But the setting that it's in is just cool. On a day like this, it's such a cool adventure. Coming along past all those old trees and stuff, and seeing the old graffiti, 1943, incredible times. And the water's a lot clearer here than what we saw at the River Isla on a different adventure yesterday. Wow, the river's so deep at this point, folks. You can just see it like dropping off. The rocks reflect with the sunlight and it's just darkness there. Look, it's bubbling and swirling. That's insane. It's really like prime fishing land here in Scotland, this area, folks. Look at this, we're just making our way. It's been washed out by the river. Insane environment. But it's worth it to get the footage, folks. Share the abandoned history with the world. And yeah, it's often like, it's crazy all the different things and the variation of stuff. Some of it is though for a time that we don't know accurately when it was built and what it was built for. And history like that blows my mind. A spot like this, folks, is just like walking about in a painting. The way the river just meanders down through the glen here and the snowy topped hills in the distance and then the ancient castle in the foreground. And yeah, we're lucky because there's a decent bit around the edge of the field to walk. So it's been an epic explore. Folks, once again the craziest adventures, going underneath the barbed wire, and yeah, we're just safely making our way, negotiating the land. Wow. So last time I walked along the edge of here there was cows and they started coming over towards us. And I remember I just kept walking and didn't run, so I didn't entice them to chase me, and we got off lucky. But it was scary, folks, with there's cows and stuff like that. And obviously you're not really meant to be in the field if the boy's got cows in it either. So look at the size of this tree, it must have come down in the wind. Insane. Probably an ancient tree, hundreds of years old, planted in the earlier days of the castle, when it was a real fortified spot there. It wasn't just a residential home originally. This is one of the most insane bits on this walk, folks. We'll have to try and negotiate this hill. And it is quite boggy. You can see there's been cows or something walking about. And it's so steep. The character of the land here, it's insane. It's like bog grass and stuff just growing out everywhere here. Still frost yet, folks, on the ground here. Look at this, folks, we're back looking at this incredible view here over the valley. And I just thought I would record this tree here because it's got some cool writing on it for back in the day. Where do we head? Look, 1999. It's not that long ago compared to some of the graffiti we see. I think that's 1977 or something, maybe. Look at that there, folks. That's 1977 on that one, I think. Who knows, folks? Insane. It's the history of the glen here, the history of the valley, and that's a massive amount of water which is collected in there. I'm sure that is the old route of the old burn which leads through where you see the green strap. And then it was one year, it was a dry year or something, and they wanted to re-divert the whole burn down through the ferrum for the water wheel or something. So I heard from somebody of local knowledge. Anyway, we'll update you once we're further along here, because we're just exploring this wild, arid landscape. Is this an arid landscape, this? There we go, folks. You see that? A hare was right in front of us there. We just about missed it. As soon as I switched the camera on, a hare just ran out. But yeah, I was just going to say, we're just a bit back to the car, folks. It's crazy to think we've witnessed some Roman history today, and we've witnessed that old dam thing further down there. That's been a cool little adventure along there. We're just a bit back down at the car. And this environment here with these old beech trees, and all the interesting old names and dates carved onto them from times gone by. So cool to see. So interesting to think of the history in a time like this. And even to think that ancient Romans were walking about here back in those days. I wonder if any important historical figures were kicking about in this area. Even the history of that old castle which we were nearby. Yeah, it's cool. It's been a cool adventure, folks. Some of these beech trees at the end here have like gotten blown down. Whoa, it's a bit fell into them, folks. Real adventures right here. Got my foot stuck on it. Crazy, folks. We just negotiate the land without doing damage. Document the history. Yeah, it's been cool to take YouTube on the adventure once again with us. It's crazy the way the land comes here and then it just drops off. That could be the reason that they chose that for the area of the ancient Roman fort, the Roman settlement. It's just crazy history. Anyway, that's been a cool adventure, folks. I'll end this one here. Tune in again soon for the next scene. Goodbye for me, goodbye for the channel DJ, and we'll see you soon for the next adventure.